Okay, I'd like to call to order the council meeting for July 2nd, 2019. If we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, God, liberty and justice. Okay, first item on the agenda is to approve the following meeting minutes of the May 28th agenda meeting, June 4th regular meeting, and the June 26th regular agenda meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Second. Any questions or discussions?
I sent Amanda some comments via email, so those be incorporated.
Okay, so they would be as, are they incorporated into the minutes we have here, or we have to amend them?
I just got them today.
So as amended by Mr. Crossan. Anybody have any questions?
I've got some questions and comments.
Sure, go ahead.
I was not available for that meeting.
June 26th, right?
May 20, no, we're doing May 28th.
I'm sorry, right, we're doing May 28th. Forgive me, so my comments were regarding the June agenda meeting.
June 26th.
So, yes, so I do not have comments on the May.
Okay. Go ahead, Josh.
May 28th, okay. The May 28th minutes, it just strikes me that I read through them, and again, I wasn't there, and I've obviously been to many meetings, and I'm just curious, when are we going to start recording or live streaming the work sessions? Because you definitely get a different context and feel than by just reading the minutes.
First time ever hearing of recording the work sessions, but I would be happy to discuss that at our next work session.
Great, I appreciate that.
Anything else?
Yes. So another kind of procedural issue is the Panarello final minor subdivision. I'd like to get it added. Got a couple of these where people are abstaining and not voting yes or no, and they're not saying why they're abstaining. That's unusual. I haven't seen that done. The reason that I am abstaining from this Panarello minor subdivision is I had been involved in litigation with the parties, and I just don't think that it's fair for me to be voting on one of their projects. And I did say that at the time, when we voted on this another time, to move it forward. And I'd like that included in the minutes. I'd also like to find out why Mr. Mahoney is not voting.
Doc Panarello is a very good friend of our family. My sons do work for him from time to time.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anything else?
Yes. So during public comment, there was a David Garber, and again, I didn't get to see this on video, but he inquired about a letter he received in the mail from L. Salvucci. I'm reading from the minutes here regarding Jay Twersky. He asked if action was being taken against Jay Twersky. D. Pileggi noted the council would not discuss politics during the public meeting and did not further address his comments. I'm not sure why that is politics, but I've been meaning to address this. My father actually had died about a week before the agenda meeting, and I had a pre-planned vacation just last week, so I've been meaning to address this. I was hoping, and hope springs eternal, that...
Josh, I think our position was that it is not a public matter.
Well,
The letter was paid for by a political party as part of a political campaign, and we have had the tradition of not discussing those kinds of issues at this meeting. I don't know why we need to belabor this point anymore, but go on. Does any other council member have a comment regarding this? No.
So it seems it came up at the 28th meeting. So Libby Salvucci sent out a letter to Township May 14th. I've handed out some copies to council. I assume most of you have seen this. I've also provided some copies to the members of the public that are here tonight, and I'd like it submitted to in the record for tonight's meeting. The points in 1, 2, and 3 of the point are your general run-of-the-mill lies, but the first paragraph is where I have some serious issues where I think it affects this council. It says, "Thank you for your support of me these past 8 years as I've seen you on Concord Township, as I've served you on Concord Township Council. I have decided not to seek re-election this year for 2 reasons. Family commitments, and more importantly, due to the toxic environment Josh Twersky has created on council." That's interesting language. It's language of workplace harassment and discrimination. It's being charged against me. The ridiculous ridiculous allegations, and they're done without any evidence being offered at all. And I deny any harassment or discrimination categorically. And I want the leadership, Dominic Pileggi, I want you to call for a censure of Mrs. Salvucci immediately, or I want you to convene a hearing. And I want to know the evidence that she has accusing a fellow council member of harassment and discrimination.
I will defer to our solicitor to opine on this at a future date.
Who is conflicted with me because of litigation against Mr. Harding that's now on the Planning Commission, and we'll talk more about that later.
Okay. All right, we had a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor, as discussed, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is the total expenditures for the month of $642,264.66.
Mr. President?
Yes.
How about the June 4th meeting minutes?
We asked for a motion for all three. You have
No,
comments on
that was just the May 28th.
No, I asked for a motion for all three.
No, you did not.
Yes,
You said May 28th
Well-
meeting minutes, because the
All right, Josh. what
Second
do you-
motion.
the June 4th
What do you have for
has
June?
major issues.
Okay, go ahead. Let's go through June 4th, Josh.
So one is under ordinance number 387 on page 5. It says, Jay Twersky, motion to approve the ordinance for John. I did not approve that ordinance. I promise you, neither of them, and purposely so, had nothing to do with the motion or the second.
What is he talking? Josh, I
I
didn't mean to. Can you tell me which one you're talking about?
June 4th,
Yes, but what you said, page 5, I'm with you, but ordinance 386 or 387, is that what you're talking about?
387.
387,
Yep.
okay.
And it also says John Gillespie abstained. Again, he gave no reason for his abstention. And then at the bottom, it says Jay Crossan abstained. Jay Gillespie abstained.
Okay, we can make those corrections.
Same thing up page 5, resolution number 34, 2019. Same thing if you could include the abstention reasons, or what says recusal, but really is an abstention.
Mr. Mahoney just gave his reason.
Yeah, I know, but if we could include it in there yet again, so it's clear for
And we ought to also include that you were involved in litigation with
Panorama.
Panarello.
In the
too.
past.
Okay.
I'm
I have
also
no problem adding the litigation and Tom's family work for Mr. Panarello.
I'm also concerned the Pet Narrow Spring Lake Shopping Center permit extension, where you voted on that.
Yes, I did.
But you get money from Pet Narrow, or have in the past, for an easement that you received? Your family partnership?
I have an easement agreement with Pantanaro for the property on Ridge Road, but I have nothing to do with the property on Spring Valley Road. That's why I've
I think once
recused
you take money from a developer,
I did
you're
not.
tainted. And the reappointment to Michael Harding, again, Mr. Donahue is conflicted on this. I want the litigation, the transcript of the litigation against Mr. Harding in the record. I also want the financial reports in the record, so when somebody writes in, right to knows these minutes, that they will get that. And
I will
Donahue
defer.
can say
First
whatever
of
he
all,
wants.
sir,
His firm was involved.
First of all,
in
sir,
this
I did not
litigation.
represent Mr. Harding.
Your firm.
Catherine Labram represented Mr. Harding,
Your
and that
business
was with respect to some action that was brought politically that has nothing to do with this board, so there's no conflict of interest whatsoever.
I disagree.
That's number one.
I disagree.
Number two, just as a point of order, your comments tonight can be reflected in tonight's minutes. We can't go back to prior meetings' minutes and amend or supplement them now. I mean, what
That's fine.
happened at
I'd
those
like the
meetings is fine.
transcript. I'd like the transcript and the original copy of the financial report and the additional report that was filed in the record with my comments here tonight, so everybody can understand exactly what happened with Mr. Harding.
They are. When you speak in this microphone, it becomes part of the record.
Not the whole transcript. I mean, I'd be glad to come back and read the whole
What transcript?
transcript of the litigation,
What litigation?
the litigation in front of Judge Whalen that you're well aware of.
The litigation that was filed politically to take somebody off of a ballot? Is that what you're referring to, sir?
Correct.
And you want that to be part of the minutes of the township
I
meeting?
do, because I think that it should have been part of the decision-making process to reappoint him to the planning commission.
I have nothing to do, sir, as the solicitor with appointing people to the planning commission. Nothing whatsoever.
That's exactly right. That's why I don't know why I'm speaking to this.
Excuse me.
Because we do.
Excuse me.
And I was using that as a basis.
Excuse me, sir. I don't vote on it. I don't recommend it. I have nothing to do with it.
Exactly.
Okay, so, and what, if you had an issue politically that you had with Mr. Harding or whoever, and you went to media and you lost, that has nothing to do with this board here this evening. And you can write what you want.
It didn't this
excuse
evening.
me.
It did the other evening when we voted to reappoint Mr. Harding to the planning commission.
Sir,
And that was evident.
two separate issues.
I agree
One is
with
an
you.
appointment to a board. The other one is you brought an action, or your folks brought an action apparently against Mr. Harding in media. It went to court. A judge decided in Mr. Harding's favor. That has nothing to do with this board.
That's not entirely
That has
true.
nothing to do with this township. Thank
That's
you.
a mischaracterization. And secondly.
Well, we'll get, as you said, you're more than happy. If you want to get the record and you want to distribute the record and the
I
transcript
did distribute the record and both the financial disclosures prior to our vote, and that's why I wanted it in.
But that has nothing to do with this meeting and the business of this township.
You were the one who said that it couldn't have been entered into
Hey,
the record
let's get a little
the
bit
other
of
night.
order. We can go back and forth on this all night. Josh, do you have anything else?
I want the transcript
I
in the
I don't
record.
think the transcript needs to be part of it, and we decided that night, and I think if the board
Yeah,
concurs...
but was it used as consideration for that vote?
For what?
For the vote to reappoint? I
No,
put
his
it in the-
performance on the planning commission was the only criteria that I used to judge Mr. Harding's reappointment
I
to the planning
understand that you
commission.
did, but
The
I
fact-
did as a council
well,
person, and it's not in the record. It's
Okay,
not
so
in the record.
you want the record to reflect that you did not want Mr. Harding reappointed
No.
because you challenged...
You want to misunderstand this because you want to misunderstand this
No,
because you
you
don't
tell
want it in
us
the record.
exactly what
'cause
you
don't
want in the
people to
record.
be able to read
What do
it.
you want in the record aside from putting all the data and everything in there? What was your comment as to why you didn't want Mr. Harding reappointed to the planning commission?
Because I think that it shows that he has poor character.
Okay, all right, we can revise the minutes to reflect that?
No, that's not good enough. People need to be able to read it, whether you wanted to read it or not read it.
He has
or
poor
not.
character.
That's
You may
correct.
not look at it that way.
I understand, but you didn't even read the transcript.
Mr. Tversky, you are treading on very dangerous ground, attacking the character of an individual.
Oh, stop.
Excuse-
Here we go.
when in
It's
fact,
politics, right?
when in fact,
That's what we do here,
in
by
the
the way,
hearing,
by
when in
definition.
fact in the hearing, Mr. Harding prevailed, and that's all I'm going to say. You're bringing
He
extra.
did not prevail on the lies that were in the financial disclosure reports. That was totally separate. There was no ruling on that whatsoever.
The only person,
You know that. You know that. Your firm represented him.
excuse me, sir, the only person who is categorizing this as a lie is you.
That's not true.
Nobody else.
Is there anybody else
No
who would
judge said he
characterize that
lied.
as a lie?
No jury said he lied.
There we
In
go.
fact, no
We've
one
got
said he lied.
3 people in the audience who
But last time I
characterized it as a
checked,
lie.
we
I know, but
vote on the
Dominic,
appointment.
excuse me.
I'm
So that's
And this is
false.
the last,
So that's false.
the last thing I'm
So
going to
that's
say.
false.
The last thing I'm going to say. This is the United States of America. In fact, we're going to celebrate
Thank
the
God.
4th of July.
It's Independence Day.
And what we do when there's a controversy and it can't be resolved, it goes to court and it is resolved. It's not done in a kangaroo fashion. It's not done with a show of hands. This country was
you're a
established
piece
on
of
the
work, sir.
principle of
You're a
law.
piece of work.
And I am not going to sit here
Nobody's
and
asking you to sit
have
here.
you bring
You
into
said
this
it was the
meeting,
last thing you were
township
gonna
meeting,
say.
as the
It
solicitor,
was the last
things
thing
that
you
are
were gonna say.
extracurricular and have no bearing.
I totally
Thank you
disagree.
very much.
I
All
totally
right,
disagree. And you don't get a vote on this, council.
What I'd like to do is, we had some suggested revisions to the minutes, I think by Mr. Crossan originally, and then Mr. Tversky. Amanda, were you able to keep track of any of this?
Unfortunately, no. Can I ask, Mr. Tversky, could you shoot me an email with the supposed edits that you would like maybe more specifically?
Sure.
Is that okay? And then, do you guys want to defer and
Yes.
see the edits, and then we can at the next month's meeting approve?
Yes, I
Is
would.
that okay?
I think that would be something
that
that would be the
logical?
right thing to do. Yeah,
I rescinded my comments. My comments were with regard to the June meeting minutes, so I don't have any comments for these May minutes.
well, yeah, I think if we're going to, yeah, whatever you wanted to do on the June 4th meeting, suggested to Amanda already, she has your comment.
I'm sorry, the June 26th
June
agenda meeting, so neither of these minutes. they will be made available.
All right, so we're going to defer the approval of any of the minutes until we get all the comments in and we can,
You did approve the minutes for May 28th, correct? Or are we deferring all of these?
I'll be honest with you, I've got
May
little
need to
marks
review the
next to
tapes
each
to
one, I
see if we
lost count.
approved all of them.
I'm fine with May 28th if everybody else is fine with May 28th.
Okay, so maybe make a motion for May 28th, and then the others will defer
Okay.
for the
Can we
next
have a
meeting.
motion for the approval of the May 28th agenda meetings? Minutes,
So moved.
second,
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And are we in agreement that we will direct the manager to defer our approval of the June 4th and June 26th until we get all the comments in and have had a chance to review them? Is that correct? Okay. Next is the total expenditures for the month of $642,264.66, made up of a June payroll of $148,872.33, current bills totaling $353,653.58, and current sewer bills totaling $139,738.75. We have a motion to approve those expenditures.
So moved.
We have a second. Any questions or discussion?
Just wanted to add, like I did last month, that as of 6/30/2019, total township cash on hand is $35,951,507.
Yeah, I think we might be talking about that later. But anyway, we
May I
have
ask
a,
what the purpose of that statement is with no context, Josh?
There's plenty of context. It's the amount of cash on hand. It goes up, it goes down. It's basically the same month over month. It's an important figure.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, to call the chair, I'd like to shuffle the agenda a little bit. We're going to take item 1, new business, Chester Water Authority update on the sale proposal with City of Chester. Tanya, you represent the water company? Okay, you might want to turn that microphone on and hold it close to your mouth. I think. You can just pull it off the stand if you have to.
Mr. Chairman and members of council, thank you. I have the pleasure of being the Solicitor to Chester Water Authority here tonight with the chairwoman of the board, vice chairman of the board, and the executive manager of the authority. We've had a very busy 2.5 years trying to stop a group of people trying to engineer one of the biggest wealth transfers in this region's history. Our water rates are a little less than half of Aqua's water rates. Aqua is attempting to acquire us. They made a direct proposal in 2017. My board rejected that. Most recently, they've been working with the City of Chester to put out an RFP to request proposals from both themselves and other water companies in an attempt to acquire us. We were in court yesterday. We filed an injunction, and the court enjoined the city from opening those RFPs until the next hearing, which will be 30 days from now. One of the concerns that we have is that all of the money that any private water company would be getting or would be raising to purchase Chester Water Authority come from the ratepayers. So basically, the way the economics work is to purchase Chester Water Authority, to give Chester money to buy us, which is the current plan. They have to raise the customers' rates in the future. They claim they'll wait 10 years. When they do this statewide, more likely the experience is rates go up in 1 or 2 or 3 years. So all of the money that they would give to the city or offer in a purchase of Chester Water come from the ratepayers. Aqua shareholders get dividends from the corporation. They never put money back into the corporation. So the only money that Aqua has, they get from the ratepayers, current ratepayers and future ratepayers. They're pursuing us because our rates are so low. Every day we put out high-quality drinking water at the lowest possible price to about 200,000 people in southern Chester County, western Delaware County, and the city of Chester. Concord Township is within our service area. So there have been so many people that have been part of this pursuit of us that we have done a lot of right-to-know requests, gathered information as to which government agencies are involved in this. We have found evidence that the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, as early as 2016, were in discussions with consultants, Aqua representatives about trying to buy us. We've uncovered communications between them and Aqua's law firms. We've collected voicemail messages that have been left for us by Aqua representatives attempting to purchase us in 2017 and others. We've recently posted on our website a request for investigative services. We have so much information that we're looking to hire someone, a consultant, a lawyer, investigative service, in an attempt to collect all that information and identify the parties that are part of it. It's interesting reading. For example, go on Chester Water Authority website, under the tab marked Request for Qualifications for Investigative Services, you'll see a list of the type of information that we got from the Department of Community and Economic Development. You'll see some voicemails to our vice chairman. One voicemail is a voicemail from Mr. Valentino DiGiorgio, who at the time was chairman of the Pennsylvania Republican Party, chairman of the Chester County Republican Party. Left 3 weeks before we got the offer letter from Aqua, talking about the offer, before we even knew. At the time, he and his law firm were representing us. The second voicemail transcript that we posted is from Chris Franklin, CEO of Aqua America, or again, vice chairman of the Chester Water Authority Board, talking about how Mr. Giorgio speaks fondly of him, talking about the offer. And the final voicemail transcript that we posted is a voicemail from one of the lawyers at Mr. DiGiorgio's law firm, a message to me. I called to complain and asked if their law firm was representing Aqua in their pursuit of us, because they were also representing us at the same time. It's just an example of what we have. We've been sending these requests for qualifications out to universities, investigative services, and individuals that are experiencing the right to know law. The responses are due July 15th. We're being pursued so much that last week I got a call from a representative of our union, SEIU. The representative said, in Harrisburg, we're hearing rumors that there's going to be a bill introduced to add 6 new members to the 9-member Chester Water Authority Board. And those 6 new members will be appointed by the city of Chester. Now, this is happening at the same time that Chester has an RFP out to try to sell it. We were very alarmed. I called Representative Barr. He said he had heard about it. He talked to the majority leader. He was against it. Mr. Barr was against it, and he put out a letter of support for us. We got similar support from Representative Lawrence, Chester County, and Representative Brian Cutler in Lancaster County. We got similar support from Senator Dinniman. I called Shannon Royer. Shannon Royer is Senator Killian's chief of staff. I wanted to know if the rumor was true. I haven't heard back from him. Now, the bill that was drafted was not introduced as a bill to be voted on. But it was close. So if you talk to Shannon Royer, or you talk to Senator Killian, please ask them to call me back. I would love an explanation of what happened and why, and who was trying to get that introduced. Thank you. Can I answer questions about it? We're in this struggle every single day.
So as far as what we can do as Concord Township residents is if we just reach out to our local legislators and stress to them how
I would
important
talk
it is.
to state representatives. I would talk to your state senator. I had to register as a lobbyist to be able to tell you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We're being pursued in Harrisburg. We're being pursued locally. It's really, we're in a constant struggle. All we want to do is keep your rates half of what the private school would make.
I have, as property owner of some properties in Media Borough, I remember when Media Borough sold their, I guess, water company first, Aqua, and then their sewer department, Aqua. And just as you said, there was a window of time where there would be no rate hike. but every year since then, there's been a rate hike. So as you said, the way they would pay Chester City all this money is they would be good boys until such a time, and then they would just put those rate increases on our
They
backs.
can offer Chester Water almost anything. Our gross revenues are between $43 and $45 million per year. It would double those rates. That's $1 billion every 23 and a half years. Every generation, they could take an extra $1 billion out of this. Astounding. Going on in plain view. Time to get involved is now. Tell everyone, thank you, all council, for letting us have our monthly.
Okay, anyone have any questions regarding this? Ken?
Take from us, or can we take?
Ken,
No.
Ken, do you mind asking your question on the microphone because it's on the film for people at home? Thank you so much.
You have to share microphones. Getting new ones.
Just curious if eminent domain can be used to take property in the public interest and part of your.
Generally, no. Generally, people that have eminent domain powers can't use it to exercise it against someone else that has eminent domain powers. We have 2 or 3 learned counsel here that I know, Mr. Donahue, Mr. Pellegreco, Mr. Tynet, all of whom can chime in. But typically, a body with eminent domain powers can have eminent domain powers exercised. No, what we actually did was we offered the city of Chester a compromise. We said we would not raise your rate more than 10%. In exchange, we would give the city $60 million in a lump sum payment. But we wanted something. We wanted the property, the authority, put in the trust for 40 years. And that offer was made January 24th. It was posted on our website, and the city just didn't accept it. We're still talking. Thank you.
All right. Next item on monthly activity reports. Pennsylvania State Police, I do not see them here. Story Department, Mr. Gillespie is not here. I understand everything is operating efficiently. Amanda, we did the user-based rates, I guess, almost a year ago, and I remember at the time at the SOAR staff meeting, we said that we would revisit that within 1 year. So if you could put a little tickler in the file to
Yes.
figure out when that date is, and then what we can do is look at that. I know, Nate, when you did the study for us originally, it was supposed to be revenue neutral. I think it might be a little north of that, so we might have to reset the rates for the next coming year.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Code Enforcement Department, Mr. Cavadias. That was a very leisurely stroll. Go ahead.
Sorry, right here. Very good. Past month, we issued 49 building permits, 11 plumbing permits, 12 mechanical permits, 13 electrical permits, 1 standalone fire permits, no zoning permits, 86 in total. We had 19 resale certs. We had 3 signed permits, no special events. We had also 18 certificates of occupancy. That's what I have.
Next is Planning Commission. I don't think they had a meeting this month, so there's probably no report. Solicitor, Mr. Donahue.
Thank you. Over the last month, there was oral argument in the Pulte matter, and at this point, we're just waiting to hear from the judge. Thank you.
Township Engineer, Nate.
Good evening. I have a bunch of updates I'll run through quickly, and then I can answer any questions. First, the stormwater issue on 202 in the vicinity of Smithbridge and Namens Creek Road has been resolved by PennDOT. There was a broken 42-inch pipe there at the Woodlawn Nursery property, and that has been repaired. We have not had any issues since. We'll keep an eye on that. But thank you to Representative Barrar and PennDOT for helping us get that resolved, as well as township staff. We've installed a new stop sign at the intersection of Temple and Morris Drive, which is just outside the Meadow Run neighborhood, based on some complaints and a speed and stop study that was done there. We've made some signal timing adjustments at Concord and Cheney Roads, as well as 202 and Johnson Farm Lane based on observations and complaints. Valley Brook Road is being upgraded with some safety and signage improvements by PennDOT. That's due to a safety request. That's a multi-municipal process. You'll probably see some of the improvements have already been installed there, but I believe that'll go from Route 1 all the way down to, is it Bodley, right down into Aston Township there. Baltimore Pike, you can see out front of the Township building here, we had some of the resurfacing already started there. They've gotten some of the worst areas, so that's great to see. The battery backup contract will be paid tonight. We installed battery backups at 13 signalized intersections, which gets us to 19 intersections. Again, when we have a storm event, power goes out, there's a battery backup on those traffic signals so they continue to operate. So we don't need police or fire emergency staff to man those intersections. And then the last is we submitted 4 different grant applications here in the month of June. 2 PennDOT Arley grants, one for improvements adjacent to Newland Gristmill for the pedestrian crossing and the speeding there. And second for what we call video detection, which is to get the old loops out of the pavement and put them up in the sky for video. So those 2 PennDOT grants went in. And then the other 2 larger grants are called CMAQ grants through DVRPC, Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Control. And we submitted 2 grants, one for $1.7 million for the intersection improvements to Concord and Smithbridge Road, to add turning lanes to all 4 turning movements there. And second, to add a second southbound turning lane to 202 South at Namens Creek Road. So again, 2 projects that have been working on for the past year or so, year and a half, 2 years. Found some grant opportunities that were due here in the month of June, and we got those crossed off this month. So hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed, and out of those 4, maybe get 1 or 2 of those. I think that's everything on my list.
Nate, the only thing, on the battery backups, they are also capable of handling a generator for a longer storm event, correct?
Correct, yeah, the battery operates for, let's say, 2 to 4 hours, but you can also plug and play generators, so the Public Works has generators, Emergency Service has a generator, so you can also plug in diesel generators, gas generators, and continue that even longer.
Okay. I know we sometimes at the 202 and 1, we've had to go to the generators, and
Correct.
also 322 and 1.
Yep.
Amanda, maybe perhaps in next year's budget, we ought to check with the Public Works Department. It seems naturally every time someone's power goes out, it's virtually impossible to rent a generator. So maybe we ought to have 4 or 5 or 6 of them on hand.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think what we're looking at, we have some extra money left in that grant budget, and we're looking at a combination of generators, backup batteries, and maybe possibly an additional signal. So we're trying to figure out what PennDOT will let us do with that grant money within what was already approved.
Yeah, I think if we had the generators on a shelf down the shop, I'd rather have them.
Yeah, so we're waiting
Normally,
on
when you're prepared like that, that's when an event won't happen.
we actually already have that request in the PennDOT, so we're just waiting their feedback.
Okay, sounds good. Township Manager, Amanda.
Sure. Tonight I just have, per what council knows, I have a couple quick slides regarding the 2018 audit, very macro level. Just want to give a couple things regarding governmental activities. I also, for council's benefit, I have Ms. Leitzel here, who handles our audit, and I also have Hank Deal, our treasurer, and if he wants to come up, I just have a couple quick slides, if you'll indulge me, just to communicate some of the things from the audit. I think it should go up. Okay, so just a couple, highlights. Again, I'm hitting governmental activities tonight, so just want to say it was a clean audit. There were no findings. Discussion, long-term debt, total debt service, principal and interest, it's about 15.8 million. Sewer fund portion is approximately 5 million. Governmental fund balances as of 12/31/18, again, we're talking about the 2018 audit, so that's what I'm talking about. General fund was about 6.2 million. Within that 6.2 million, there's $1 million that's dedicated towards infrastructure. Additionally, we have several CDs and things that are maturing, which I talked with council about at the end of last year, that we'll have plans with a new fund balance policy that we've circulated, that we will probably be moving additional monies per council's direction. Highway Aid Fund, for folks that don't know, that's the liquid fuels fund, so it's money from the state that comes in and allows us to do our road program. Last year, I think we spent about $700,000. The balance of that's left is $567,000 that's in that account. Open Space Fee in Lieu Fund, for those of you who are unfamiliar with that, this is really developer money that comes in for what they can't do with open space. It's per an ordinance, and we had $2 million in that fund. I'll also note that the Highway Aid, Open Space Fee in Lieu, Open Space, Fire Hydrant, and Library funds are special revenue funds. There's restrictions placed on them, so it's not just money I can use for anything. It's for a specific purpose. Additionally, the Open Space Tax Fund, that's the monies that we have brought in through taxes, which is $1,887,436. And lower in the bullets, you'll notice we had the transfer of $1 million at the end of 2018 that helped to bolster the amount in that fund. Capital Reserve Fund. The Capital Reserve Fund is for capital expenditures. As you guys know, last year you approved a capital plan as part of the budget that had over $20 million in expenditures between sewer and township. These funds, out of the 7.8 that's there, like 99% of that is actually dedicated monies, meaning there are different agreements as part of some land development that came through that are tied to specific things that can only be used for specific things. For example, like streetlights, maintenance on specific roadways that are tied with those developments. Additionally, we have the tree fund, and there's $532,705 in there. That's also a special revenue fund that's used for tree landscaping type efforts. Fire hydrant fund, $197,913. That balance at the end of the year really was because there was a last payment that was still lagging that had to come out. That goes to the water company for the fire hydrants. So that basically has money that comes in for those that have fire hydrant service, and then it goes right back out to the CWA or the water company that has the hydrant. Library fund, that's the same thing. While there was a minor balance in there, that was just a lagging payment out, and all the tax monies that come in go directly to the library. Notable governmental interfund transfers. Council knows this, but not sure that everybody does. At the end of 2018, through recommendation from myself and the township treasurer, and in discussions with council, we transferred $3.5 million of dedicated monies for land purchases to the Capital Reserve Fund. $1 million was dedicated for open space purchases that went directly into the Open Space Reserve Fund. And then we have normal interfund transfers that happen annually as part of our sinking funds to pay off debt service. So this is so hard to see, and I was trying so hard to get everybody. This is directly out of the audit document itself. And see, at home, they can't see the white, so I tried to make it a little darker of a background, so I apologize that folks can't really see, and I'm trying to get my pointer to work. Can anybody make that out at all? There were audits given out in the back, so I apologize. I'll give just a couple highlights, and I'm happy to talk to anyone afterwards or anytime I'm here to discuss. Sure, well, they have it in the back. It was in the back. So a couple other things to note. With that large transfer of money out of the general fund, it appears sort of at the end of the year that, we're in the hole, $3.5 million due to that transfer. However, I want to note that there were revenues that came in over expenditures for the year in terms of the budget, which is, I'm talking about the actual budget numbers versus the actual budget numbers for general fund. That's in every audit as a document, and I'm just going to highlight a couple of the things. Additionally, there was 1.2 million of excess revenues over the expenditures, and that's outside of the transfer that happened for $4.5 million. And that was due largely in part to Act 511 taxes. We had 2 large real estate transfers that happened at the end of last year in December. It was the Redstone apartments, which I think most folks are familiar with, and then the Valley Brook apartments also sold, and that makes up the large portion of this as opposed to the normal monies we get for real estate transfer taxes throughout the year, which are there's kind of a norm at times, but they can be volatile because, again, it's dependent on real estate transfers. Licenses and permits were down. I think that's a number. They were down 156,837 over anticipated revenues. I think that is something indicative. I've talked about this before of this township as we are getting billed out, and those things will start to come down, the amounts of monies that we used to bring in for fees for service. And additionally, I will point out that that 1.2 is also made up of expenditures not realized. So in various categories, from public works to other areas, there were monies basically not spent out of the budget that also assists in that 1.2 number. Sure.
Just so I'm clear, so on the sheet, it's very difficult to read there where it says real estate taxes.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only money that comes into the township that the residents and property owners get a tax bill for, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Where it says real estate taxes, that number makes up the monies coming in from taxpayers.
When I get my tax bill, and I cut my check for real estate taxes, that check goes into that category in the spreadsheets for the township.
Sure. So if you'll indulge me, do you want me to show you the next slide where I sort of outline that,
yeah,
just to give a...
Please.
And then you can ask me further questions. I hear Josh might have a question as well.
I have a couple follow-ups to that.
And I'm happy to ask any questions. This is just a very simplified, where does your dollar go type moment. We get questions. I'd like to say local governments like chicken soup. I can tell you all the ingredients. They're kind of easy to see. It's not very difficult like the federal or state monies that you remit. But real estate taxes in 2018, again, we're mentioning the 2018 audit, received $793,998 into the general fund. Approximately 35% of that money that township residents remit in real estate taxes goes directly to the fire company right out of the general fund. So $275,000 comes right off the top of that $794,000 amount that we receive. The average taxpayer in 2018 remitted $314 a year to Concord Township for services. So basically, where does that money go? So if you're in that average and you have $314 that comes annually to the township, here's where, just to give you an idea of some of the buckets. So out of that $314 to the general fund, there's two ways that dollar gets split. So it's, say, $94 goes to general purposes, which is your general township services, from snow removal to, preservation projects, to township administration, to tax collection, and all those items listed within that portion of the budget. And then the fire company directly receives about after the $314, $55 goes directly to the fire company per that 35% I discussed earlier. And then the fire hydrant fund, which is, these are the special revenue funds that your money goes to. So if you have fire hydrant service, you have that on your tax bill, and about $42 goes there again if you're in that average of $314 a year that you pay to the township. The library fund, about $38 of your $314 goes towards that. And open space, about $85 goes into that bucket. So again, I'll entertain, I know you guys had some questions, I'm happy to.
Open space, if I'm not mistaken, that millage or that portion of the millage is set by referendum, which was done years ago?
Correct.
Okay. And then getting back to my original point, that
Purchase.
on the budget, that first item, real estate taxes, that money there is what you're talking about here, that average of $314 per month that a resident pays to the township.
It's $314 per year.
Per year, I'm sorry. And now, under other taxes, though, they are what's known, I guess, as an Act 511 tax. And my understanding is, and Cindy, if you help me with this if we need it, that is a tax that the state allows a township to levy over and above a real estate tax. But it's revenue to the township, but it's technically not a real estate tax. It's an Act 511 taxes. And examples of that are transfer taxes, first and foremost. In Concord Township, there's the amusement or admission tax. I know other townships in the day were able to do a business privilege tax, but we no longer have the avail of that. And I also think it's that the local services tax, which is the per head tax on employees. So if I'm looking at the budget from last year, we budgeted about $1,080,000 for those three categories. But as Amanda said, we collected $1.8 million. So we had $800,000 over in Act 511 taxes. The biggest part of it being in the transfer taxes. We had two large sales come in at the end of the year. One thing to caution on that category, and I hate to say it with my years being here, I did a sheet where I went back for the last 10 years' budgets, but you can't always count on that coming in. We don't know when a large property is going to sell. We did not know the two apartment complexes were going to sell back to back in the last quarter of last year. If you go back to 2010 and 2011, and actually 2013 was the worst, we were under budget substantially. We did not meet our target for transfer taxes and those taxes. So a lot of this depends on the economy. If things are moving along, a lot of things will sell, they'll buy. Everybody's looking at their stock market stuff. It's looking pretty good right now, but everybody also probably remembers when it doesn't look too good because the economic conditions change. So we try to take the best guess we can at those miscellaneous taxes, so to speak, but we've always budgeted very cautiously on that because it is sensitive to the economy, and you never know what's going to happen with the economy.
The only thing that I'll add about the real estate transfer tax is just for clarification so people understand is that half goes to the township, half goes to the school district
And that's what
of the 1%.
And that's what you pay at the settlement table when a property goes to settlement.
Yes.
The income tax that you charge to residents running business in the township?
No, that's the local services tax, and again, I may need some help on that. I think the state allows us to collect $1 per week per employee for the time they work in Concord Township.
It's something else. You guys tried to take the collection agency claiming I was running a business out of my house.
I don't recall that. I don't remember.
I'll look up what it is.
Okay, if you can bring that, send that to Amanda, and she'll be happy to look into
She'll
it.
get back to me.
Okay, thank you. All right, Amanda, did you have anything else you want to say on that?
No, again, that was
Dominic.
just very brief.
One other thing, under licenses and permits,
Dominic?
under licenses and permits, there are sometimes fees for developers and things of that nature. That comes in there. This year, I think we were a little under budget on that. But there's a lot of different things that go in to make up how much surplus or additional money is left over at the end of the year. And in a good year, we have more money. In a bad year, if the economy's not doing well, we don't get the building permits. As Amanda said, we're not getting the larger permits anymore like we used to. We used to get some larger permit fees, but most of that development is drying up. Josh, you had a comment?
I did. Just a clarification, and either, I guess, Amanda or Ms. Leitzel, if you could elaborate. The $793,900 and what is that? $98 real estate tax revenue? Correct me if I'm wrong. That is only the $94 and the $55 on this kind of average slide. That's what's in there. The hydrant fund, the library fund, and open space fund are actually separate statements in the audit, and that's where those revenues are recorded. That's correct?
Sure, that is correct.
So all of that money is not in the $793,998.
No, as noted in the slide, it says general fund.
Right.
Just the two dollar bills to the far left of the chart. That's general fund. And as Amanda said,
Correct.
of that money, the general purpose part pays to keep this building open, pays to cut the grass, plow the streets, keep the red lights working, open the parks, the ball fields, everything like that. That's all gets paid for out of that.
But I'll add that the 314 average, average up there includes money for all of that. Get what I'm saying?
I have some more on this too, but so there was a $1.23 million surplus for 2018 in the general fund and $794,000 round numbers in real estate taxes collected. So if there was zero real estate taxes collected in 2018, there still would have been north of $436,000 surplus after everything was paid. Is that correct?
Well, I guess if you would do the math, yes, but are you proposing a zero real estate tax? Suppose we have a bad year, Josh, what do we do then?
Well, I have some slides on that.
Do you want to?
I'm sure you do. Go ahead.
Okay?
Yeah.
Cindy, where are you?
How do I stop?
This is correct? You're the expert. Okay. Thank you.
Stay. No, it's supposed to-
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to start out in the same place that I guess we just ended. And Cindy, this is the 2018 general fund balance audit, correct? Okay. And we had a surplus. $1.23 million, correct? Okay. And you know, obviously I've been extremely critical of these surpluses. Correct? So you've heard it. Okay. That's fair. Let's go to a non-accountant was using this. There we go. Okay. So this is your independent auditor's report, correct? Page 1 and 2, correct? Okay, it's dated May 1st, 2019? All right. This is the 2017 audit. This one's dated June 20th, 2018, correct? Still in the 2017 audit. I'm curious, so can you explain note number 19, subsequent events?
Why don't you come up here?
For those of you who know me, I'm Cindy Lightsall with Lightsall and Economides. The note 19 is a standard note that is required in all financial statements prepared under generally accepted accounting principles that indicates that the township has evaluated subsequent events, meaning that if there was anything, the 17 audit, anything that occurred from 12/31/17 through the date of the audit has an impact on 17 needs to be recorded in some capacity. So, I mean, there's specifics which I'm sure nobody's that interested in, but what that note basically says is that after 12/31/18, we talked to management. There was nothing that happened from, I guess, January 1st to June 20th that needed to be included by auditing standards within the 2017 audit. And that would be things that were existing in 17 that impacted 17, and that there was a determination of the dollar amount that could be impacted. Yes, sir. Well, it can be the management. When that, generally speaking, It's management that deals with the audit and manage, if there were items that took place during that period of time, we would pick it up through council minutes, because we read the minutes all the way through the date of the audit, and discussing with management what happened. We also speak at the end of the audit with members of council. It doesn't say that in there, but that's part of the audit requirements. We also write a letter to management and council. We call it a letter to governance. Well, management would be primarily the township manager, the finance director, other people managing various departments. Generally, as a rule, we do speak to council members, certain council members, not all of them, of course, but during the course of the audit, we also speak to various council members. We talk to them about fraud. We talk to them about things that they're concerned about, management issues that may come up, and anything unusual that we might see during our testing of what would be, if, for example, well, something that would be a subsequent event, or something, a subsequent event would be something like if there was litigation that took place in 2018 relative to 2017, and council or management or solicitor felt it was going to have a monetary impact on financial statements, that would be material, and materiality is defined in an audit as a certain level of how it affects the full dollar amounts that are being audited. No, those are just those are the auditing standards I was explaining. That's all. That's the auditing standard, and the audit basically talks in terms of subsequent event. In that particular year, we found nothing. Now, there have been places where we have found things in that 6-month or 3-month or 4-month period after the year end. Sure. No, not at all, sir. In fact, I don't think private businesses have that requirement. Gosh,
They do.
private business.
No, they absolutely, subsequent events is.
So, but subsequent events generally, if there are none that are material or that are applicable to the year, that's one thing. If there are some, usually that would be spelled out. I have had an occasion where a subsequent event happened where there was a theft, and in that theft, we discovered it, in the subsequent period, but it applied to the prior period before. That had to be disclosed as a subsequent event and had to be booked. Sometimes you find a subsequent event that can't be booked because you haven't a determinable dollar amount yet. Another example of that, there was a township that had a really bad oil leak. It actually happened in 17, didn't it? 17, but it wasn't adjudicated until 18, whose fault it was. So but then we knew by the time we actually issued, it was adjudicated, and a dollar amount was determinable. So we went back and we had it rebooked, and we had a list explain in the footnotes what that subsequent event was. But if a subsequent event is not identified, either by management or by us or some other way, it's listed, it's not shown there. But if there was something, it would be spelled out in that note or in another note.
Yeah. And full disclosure too, I don't think I mentioned it, but I'm a CPA also. So, and this is why I drilled down so far into this as well. It's part of my DNA. So June 20th, 2018 was the subsequent event date. It's also, you get we call it the rep letter.
Yeah, there's a rep letter dated that date as well.
Yeah, so that's like the final piece of audit evidence. The township signs off and basically says, hey, we gave you everything that you needed. That's probably broad strokes. That's what that letter says, correct?
Told you the truth, we told you everything you asked, we cooperated,
Yep.
that kind of language.
So
is
the
in that.
the audit's basically done as of June 20th.
It's ready to be issued at that point.
Yeah, okay. Back to 2018, not to be redundant here, but same note in 2018,
Same
except
event.
it's May 1st, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So- Okay, this is the email from Amanda Sorock on July 3rd, 2018, saying that we just received the 2017 final audited financial statements. Okay? And that's 13 days after the date of your report, which, 2 weeks.
That's correct.
Here's the email from Hank Deal, our treasurer, that we just got back on June the 13th, 2019, that we just received the 2018 audited financial statements. That's 43 days after your report date. That's a full 30 days longer than the 2017 audit. That's a long time. And I do have a question about that, because, and again, correct me, because I'm in for-profit and you're in government, so I know there's some disconnect there. But this is the standards of field work for audit.